Okay, thank you all for joining us today. And this is for our first cooking demonstration, virtual cooking demonstration. My name is Felika Ahastin Bryant, and I'm the director of the Native American Educational and Cultural Center at Purdue University. We're very pleased to join you. We are in the co-rec in the food demonstration, and we'd like to thank Ella for being here with us. She's with the co-rec, she's the staff that's helping guide us here. And today we are going to begin with a cooking demonstration. We have Dr. Lisa Platero Brown, who's going to be joining us from Texas. She is leading our whole cooking demonstration here. Before I go there, I would like to give a big shout out to all the students that are joining me today. So I'm going to have them come by and give a quick introduction here. So I'm going to start with Bryce right behind me.
Hi, I'm Bryce Fitzy. I'm a grad student here, a master's student, just finishing up here at Purdue University in animal science, and I'm from Navajo Nation, New Mexico.
All right.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Boland. I'm also a grad student here at Purdue in the structural engineering department, working on a PhD and master's degree, and I am from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Thank you, Sarah.
Awesome.
I'm Dr. Lucian. I'm also a graduate student here in the Department of Botany and Plant Pathology. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josie. I'm a first year grad student in the chemistry department. I'm interested in organic chemistry.
Great.
Well, thank you so much. Again, I really appreciate them all coming out and joining us today. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give our official welcome and greetings to Dr. Lisa Platero Brown. Let me go ahead and start with her introduction. She's a Native American author, educator, and entrepreneur. Dr. Lisa Platero Brown has been the last decade serving her family as a wife to her husband, Nate, and a mom to their two beautiful children, Taylor and Timothy. Lisa grew up on the Navajo Reservation in New Mexico, where family meals were more than food. They were a lifeline that connected her back to her family, her culture, and her heritage, providing her great joy and strength and perseverance. Lisa founded the Living Full Company and authored the Living Full Cookbook, Making Family Meals Abundantly Good. Her desire is to see the family unit strengthened through sharing meals together. Lisa hopes to inspire families to shop, plan, cook, and spend quality time with the people who matter, each others. Lisa resides in Little Elm, Texas, where you'll find her unleashing her creativity through homeschooling, making homemade jam, decorating her home, and conducting virtual cooking demonstrations like we have here today. And this is all from her home kitchen. So I would like to thank her and as well her husband, Nate, for also being the cameraman there. So I'm going to go ahead and officially turn it over to you, Lisa.
All right, Ms. Felika, thank you so much. And thank you, Ms. Deb. Thank you, Native American Educational and Cultural Center, for having me this evening. It's an honor to be able to be with you and the grad students there who are watching. Again, congratulations, you guys, on your graduate studies, pursuing your education. That is amazing. And so I'm honored to be with you all. Thank you so much. And I'll just give my formal introduction. Thank you for that introduction. Yat Eshe Elisa Platero Brown and Shia Twitter Oja Nishle, Twitter Jitney Vashish Chin, Deshitney Veshe, Household A Veshanella. Thank you again so much. We are going to get started this evening. So to our viewing audience, thank you for tuning in. If you get this on the playback, I'm going to walk you through tonight's food demonstration. And tonight we are going to be preparing a dish that is pretty versatile, something that is convenient and easy to make for college students, for busy families, for staff. We all live pretty busy lives. So I thought, what better way to do this than to do a power bowl or a protein bowl. You may have seen these on the go in to-go places and restaurants, but it's so much fun to make these, and I'm just happy to share this with you all. So let's get started. All right, so my students at Purdue, you all were given an assignment, and that was to cook our chicken, our herb chicken. It's called herb pulled chicken. It's in my cookbook. And so if you all have that, I'm gonna go ahead and grab mine from my casserole dish, and I'll just explain to everybody else how we made this. Basically, put it together in a 4-quart slow cooker. This is me, feeds a family of 4. 3 pieces of boneless, skinless chicken breast with salt, pepper, about a cup and a half of chicken stock, and also some herbs. So I love cooking with natural herbs. I love using rosemary, thyme, sage, bay leaves. They're great for stews. And so I just took a few sprigs of each of these: thyme, rosemary, and sage, and just put it in the slow cooker. Forget about it, walk away. 2.5 hours later, you have these beautiful chicken breasts. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. Students, if you have your chicken breast, we're just gonna pull it apart with our forks. Now, it does come out with quite a bit of juice, and I did pour a majority of it out into a mason jar. So this is one of the beautiful things about cooking yourself and food prepping. You can use this as stock to make other things. And so soups, this is really good when you're cooking throughout the week. This is quite a bit. This is about 16 ounces. So I just collected my juice from the slow cooker into a mason jar. It's got all that good flavor from the chicken and the herbs. And then the chicken itself, I put into this casserole dish, and I'm just gonna begin to meet at the middle and just pull it apart. It'll come apart on its own. Once you put a little bit of pressure on it, it breaks up really pretty into this like whole chicken. And this is just 3 fillets, and this is just gonna multiply. And so you can create an assembly line of bowls for your week, all with chicken. You can even toss this with different sauces, barbecue sauce or pesto sauce. This is just a lovely recipe that you can use in all kinds of ways. And so we are going to use them this evening in our power bowls. So I'm just going to break it up like this, like so.
Now,
This
Lisa, how many servings will this make?
This will make about 4 cups of chicken unpacked. So it makes quite a bit. Now, if you're wanting to make a bunch, if you have a big slow cooker and you want to double the recipe and make 8 cups, that's totally fine. And what you can do is you can store these in a freezer bag and lay it flat in a freezer bag and freeze them up to 3 months. And this chicken will be just as good. You defrost it, you can have it cold or hot. You can add it to, like I said, soups. Salads is just a great way to eat this because it's quick. You don't have to cook it. You just cook it once and you have it for the rest of the week. So I love my slow cooker. Do any of my students have a slow cooker in your dorm or at home?
Everybody has a slow cooker.
Yeah.
Bryce says that's a crock pot, right? I said, yes, I think everybody has a slow cooker. And nowadays you probably even have do you have one of the Instapotters?
Oh yeah, Instapots.
Air fryer and
Instapots
Instapotters.
good. Those are good for braising even or cooking, some of the more heftier meat bones. And this just cooked in 2.5 hours. So there's our chicken that we're going to use later when we plate our bowl.
Okay, so I'm sure Bryce is here doing some.
I see Bryce, yes. Awesome. And I see he's got it, he's pulling it apart.
Yep, okay.
I don't want to move ahead too fast, but I'm
Okay.
just, yeah, pull it as much as you want, really. It's make it as chunky as you want. And feel free, if you have any questions, the students, Philippa, if you have some questions, I'm happy to answer. And I wanted to choose a protein that was pretty easy to make. Chicken is just more of those versatile meats, proteins that you can find. But if we're talking, more indigenous foods, I mean, you can certainly braise short ribs, you can braise bison, even cook lamb. There's all kinds of ways that you can change out some of these ingredients. So I'm happy to share this process with you all, but just be thinking about some of the ways that you could change this up. Even when we roast the vegetables, we can change those out for corn, beans, and those take time to cook. So everything tonight, I tried to keep within our time frame. But yeah, this chicken's just beautiful and it tastes really good. And like I said, dress it up with a marinade or a dressing, however you want. So there it is.
Okay, good.
All righty.
Yes, thank you.
How are we doing over there, you all?
I think we're good. I think Bryce did a good job.
Okay, good job, Bryce. Okay, so again, with these protein bowls, let me just explain it a little bit. We have our protein that's gonna go in it. We are going to have a whole grain. We're gonna have roast vegetables, and we're gonna have our mixed greens, and then we're gonna have some nuts on top. So let's get started making our quinoa. I chose to make quinoa. It looks like this. They're cute, small little circular grains. This is 100% whole grain quinoa, and I like it because it is a superfood. It's 100% full of protein, acids, and the first thing we want to do with our quinoa, this is 1.5 cups, we want to rinse and drain it. So
Okay, yeah, we'll rinse and drain right here.
let me grab my water. I'm just gonna pour it in. I'm not at the sink, so I'm not gonna move.
They have to drain it.
And the reason why we do this, just like we would with beans or any other dry grain, wild rice, you want to rinse it just to get any debris out of there.
Okay, hold on. We're still trying to get a strainer for our quinoa. Oh, there it is. Okay, good, good, thank you. Okay.
All right, are you all ready for?
Yep, we got it. Okay.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just gonna, you might have some floaties on top, but your mesh strainer will take care of that. We'll just put the strainer there and dump our quinoa.
So we just put it into the pot now or not?
Yeah,
Oh,
once I'm still technically rinsing it and draining it.
Okay.
I'm draining it now. And yes, you can put your 2 cups of water.
Mm-hmm.
Put that on, get that boiling.
Yep,
So we
it's
can,
boiling now. Mm-hmm.
oh, it's boiling. Okay, now y'all are ahead now. You guys are ahead. We're all prepared. Okay, so I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Now I'm gonna turn my hot plate. I have a hot plate here. If your water is boiling, go ahead and pour your quinoa in there. Now this is where you would use that chicken stock. So it is a pilaf style, so you could use the chicken stock or you could use water. I'm gonna use water. And just pour that right in. Now, when I was little, my grandma used to babysit me, my Shanella, and she was my father's mom. And she used to love to make this cereal, rice with raisins. And so I was inspired tonight to do, when I wanted to do a whole grain, instead of doing a rice, I chose quinoa because it is pretty close to the consistency of rice. It's easy to digest and, you know, it's just good for you. Like I said, it's packed with protein. And rather than doing a rice, I chose quinoa, and I wanted to add dates to it, which we're going to do that in just a moment after it's cooked. And that dish, the rice and raisins, just reminded me of when I was a kid, and it reminds me of grandma, how she would cook the rice and then put the raisins, put milk, put cinnamon, and we would sit together and eat it. And it was like my favorite. I don't know if you could call it a cereal or a dessert. It was like a 2-in-1, but I loved it. It had that natural sweetness in it. And that was just so much fun to make with her. It always reminds me of her. Whenever I'm cooking, I like to think of, you know, my family and just some of how I can make some of those traditional foods or family foods into my own. And so this is one of those that I thought would be fun for us to do this evening. I'm gonna cover it, and I'm gonna set a timer for about 12 minutes and let that go. Let me get that to you. All right, how are we doing? We doing okay?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead, you all, and let's get our vegetables. While that is cooking, I have my timer set. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees.
Okay, this is bringing over the vegetables. She's already got them
Most
all.
of them are already cut.
Okay, good.
All right, so I'm gonna grab my vegetables here. And it's the fall season, so some of the most common vegetables you're gonna see are your squashes. And I didn't do squash. I actually chose cauliflower and I chose carrots. Both of them are very high in fiber. Cauliflower is kind of like the celebrity vegetable right now. I use it to make pizza crust. I use it to make mashed potatoes to cut down on some of those carbs. So this is really just another good versatile ingredient to use when you're roasting veggies. It roasts very well. So I'm just gonna cut all this apart, take all this apart actually. I'm gonna use this.
Like that to kind of show.
And if y'all want to peel your carrots, we're gonna peel 2 loose carrots as well. Cut off the stalk here.
So we have our carrots already peeled and cut, and our cauliflower already cut too. So we're kind of ahead of you.
Okay. All right, no problem. So I'll catch up. So this is the cauliflower. As I said, it is very nutritious. It's high in vitamin K and it's high in fiber. And what I love about the cauliflower is it just cooks well with everything. I mean, by itself, raw kind of has an interesting taste, but once you cook it up, it tastes really, really good. So I'm just breaking up the florets here. And I'm gonna line my baking sheet. We'll toss that around with some seasonings, some salt and pepper. Now, I do like to find local and organic produce. I think that's important when we're talking about indigenous food systems. I think it's important to keep in mind where our food is coming from, what's in it. And, you know, our ancestors, you know, worked with food, harvested their own food, and worked with foods that was not processed. Not even with pesticides. A lot of the herbs that were used, you know, were for medicinal benefits. And so I just like to keep that in mind, you know, when I'm picking my produce, and I try to buy organic when I can. Organic just basically means that it could have higher nutritional content. It wasn't treated in any kind of way. And so this cauliflower is organic, as well as the carrots. And carrots are a root vegetable. You can even get other root vegetables like parsnips or even beets. You can roast, you can change all of these vegetables. And you can also use squash too. So this recipe is pretty flexible for that. I saw that you're growing your garden, Philippa. I was like, wow, I was loving your garden where you grew your lettuce and onions.
My onions, lettuce. Right now, I have my fall garden in, so I have spinach, cauliflower, broccoli, and lettuce.
Love
So
it. Yes.
they're doing good. But this was my first year growing carrots, so I like the different carrots that you have. We got. I'm not sure if you can see this, but we have a variety of different colors and flavors right here.
Rainbow
So
carrot. Oh, that's beautiful. Even better. That's even better. Yeah, and they're in season right now. So, you know, we have holidays coming up. We're going to do some holiday cooking. This would be a good recipe for that. Yes, and that's exciting. You know, in the mixed greens that I'm using today, I'm using spring mix, but you're more than welcome to use spinach, arugula, and chard or kale. You can change up any of those ingredients. All right. So I'm going to have to make some room here. I have my baking sheet. And let's line our baking sheet with foil.
So what are you guys, cauliflower people, carrot people? Carrot. I think we have a consensus. Everybody likes the carrots and the cauliflower. Broccoli? No broccoli. Two no broccolis.
Oh, you got 2 votes for broccoli?
Some people are, yeah, I was asking, do they like broccoli or not? They're like, two of us said no, and the rest said yes. But overall, I think the carrots and the cauliflower, they seem to be the people like the majority of them here.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, cauliflower, like I said, it's really popular. It's super popular right now, especially for keto-friendly cooking. Takes away, adds bulk.
Mashed potato? Have you ever
I
tried
do
it?
not like the mashed.
I haven't tried it.
No.
Okay. We were just talking about the cauliflower, how it's now being used kind of like a mashed potato or mashed, you can steam it. So,
And you can do a 50-50. You would roast it just like we are right now. And you, once it's done roasting, you can actually put it in your food processor, and it just emulsifies into this like a little dough. You can bake with it, you can strain it, bake with it, or you can add it directly into potatoes, do like a 50-50 and make a mashed potato. I have that in my cookbook, or you can just have it by itself as cauliflower potatoes.
Okay,
Potatoes, yeah.
so now we put the vegetables into the pan.
Yes, go ahead and lay a nice flat layer with your cauliflower, and I'm going to cut my carrot, and I'm just gonna lay it in there with it. And I'm cutting my carrots just so that they are like maybe 2-inch sticks.
Okay.
I don't want too thick because I'm not roasting them for very long. So if you're prepping for the week, you probably want to have more than 2 carrots. You can do, you know, a whole bunch of carrots. You have the time and have your baking sheet, have a big baking sheet. But this is so good. And these vegetables roast very well together.
Okay, we got it already.
Great, okay. So now, let me go ahead and get rid of this cutting board so I can season it up. I'm gonna hand this off. I have a team over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And if you don't mind getting your hands in some cauliflower, I love to feel my food. I love to break it up and stir it. Feel free to do that. I'm not judging you. Or if you want to use the spoon, that's fine too. All right, so I'm gonna get my olive oil and just drizzle it. I'm gonna mix it all up anyway, but try to get it on the cauliflower. And if your quinoa is taking off, you can take off the lid and just lower it because it's gonna simmer. That water is just gonna cook right off. I'm multitasking here. Okay. Now we're gonna have a half a teaspoon of onion powder and a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And you're just gonna do the same thing, just sprinkle it all across. And one day I do want to have my own garden, folks. I want to have squash, zucchini, be a master gardener.
Yes, that's true. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and I have to give a lot of credit to my husband who's over here. He helped to build the raised boxes that we have, and so
Yes.
and that was the hard part. But you know, we've had a garden for several years, and it was actually, to be honest, it was my mom's garden. we built it for her, and so she did a lot. She used to do a lot of gardening with tomatoes and everything, and then and that after we lost her about 2 years ago, we didn't want to do any more gardening. You know, we just kind of just left. We didn't want anything to do with the garden, to be honest. And then all of a sudden they started coming back. We didn't grow anything. They just started coming back without anything. So we said, okay, we get the message. We'll continue gardening. So
Yeah, it came to life. Yeah, it wanted to live. That's beautiful. And you know, my mom, we lost our grandmother, my Shema son, and she passed away. She was over 100. I think she's like 102, 103. And she ate directly from the land. They grew their food. She grew up basically having a ranch. You know, back in the 1930s and 40s, it was very common for the Navajo families, and you probably know this, Native American families to have like 1,500 heads of sheep, 500 heads of cattle, horses. My great-grandfather, Jesus Siracho, he had a ranch, steers, and he had goats. And so he would load up her saddle with goat's milk, and she would go to an area in New Mexico, in Rama, New Mexico, where they would do trading. And yeah, she would trade. The Navajo Reservation is right next to the Zuni Reservation in Rama. So she would go and trade goat's milk for onions and Zuni bread. Yeah. And, you know, she just loved to cook with corn. I mean, that was, you know, for Navajos, corn, squash, beans, those were all common ingredients that they grew in the soils in New Mexico. I have a lot of family in New Mexico and in Arizona. And here in Texas, there's a lot of farms around too. They're big on dairy, eggs, cheeses, and honey. So depending on where you are, where you're watching from, I just encourage you to go out to your local farmers market, find a farmer, you're supporting family farms, land preservation, you're supporting growing and cultivating, these good foods, and especially if they're heirloom, heirloom agriculture, vegetation. I mean, oh my goodness, take advantage of it, because right now I wish I had Navajo tea. I don't have Navajo tea, so I had to do sage tea. But yes, you just find so many, you never know what you're gonna find, and everything's seasonal, so it all changes. And that's what's beautiful about this recipe is, you can change it as the season, changes, produce changes, and it's just beautiful. So my oven let me know that I'm ready.
Okay,
So
I think we're ready.
all right, we'll pop it in. And let's give it 12 minutes. I have my timer on. Give it about 12 minutes. I'm just gonna quickly clean off my countertop here. How are my students? Are you all doing okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Good. All right.
Okay.
I hope you're having fun. I enjoy this. I really love sharing parts of my story, how I grew up, and just sharing as I cook, as if you were here with me in my kitchen. I think the kitchen and the dining table is one of the most important sacred places in a home. It's where you gather with your family. It's where you gather with friends. You connect, you disconnect from everything else, and you connect with each other. So my students, I know you're away from home, but if you all continue to connect with one another and even cook together, we all bring our own skill set. We all bring our own talents, and we're all different flavors. And so I would just encourage that coming together, and just kind of looking back at some of the things I wrote in my cookbook. I'm reminded of, just the importance of meals, of gathering. I call it family meals, making family meals abundantly good, but that doesn't mean blood family, but also friends coming together. Research does show that when people come together, when families come together, like-minded people come together, are unified, and they share a meal, it does a lot for the human spirit, for the human soul, and to help that person to persevere, to endure, to do well, like academics, to do well in life. And so for me, that was a huge thing in my family. In pursuit of my graduate studies, I always went home to have some food with my family, and it wasn't always native foods. It was just celebrating being together. So, and of course, when we did have native food, that was a special treat. But yeah, I just wanted to share that little nugget with you all. When you have the time and get a chance to go home, connect with your family and ask them about, let me give this a stir, my quinoa's about done here. Ask them about your history. Ask them about what life was like when they were young. Believe it or not, I think our family members, our elders, they really won't say anything unless you ask them. That's what I learned. Oh, this quinoa is beautiful. How's your quinoa looking? Did all your water cook off?
All the water cooked off. It's good.
Oh, okay, mine looks good too. So I'm gonna get a glass bowl, and I'm going to mix it together with our nuts. And actually, I should hit my dates first before I do that. I'll just turn off my heat. Did you all pit your dates yet?
Yep, we got our.
Oh, okay. You guys are ahead of me. You really are. Okay. I need a little cutting board.
So do we put the quinoa in the bowl?
Yes, go ahead and put
Okay.
that on the bowl. Get it off the heat. I'll do it with you. And quinoa is one of those grains that pretty much will triple in size. It's beautiful. We started with 1.5 cups, and this is probably 3 to 4 cups, if not more. So talk about meal prep. That's going to be a few meals, and you can put this in oatmeal with hot cereal. You can put it in soup,
I don't think so, at least.
eat it by itself. Make it as a rice pilaf like we are tonight.
Mhm.
All right,
Just some more of the pasta.
so let me get my dates. Oh, that's funny. Oh, I have it here. Dates have a natural sweetness, and I find that in Native American cooking, there's really not a big use of sugar, white sugar. You know, I found that a lot of the foods that were prepared, if there was sweetness, honey was used, or you know, a naturally derived source of sugar, which is like honey or dried fruits and maple syrup from the tree. So I really try to be intentional on picking ingredients that are naturally derived from the land, nothing from a jar that was processed or prepackaged. So I'm pitting and I'm just putting my dates into the quinoa. These are really, really good. Medjool dates, there's all kinds of dates. I'm using medjool dates for this recipe. And this is about 4 dates. Once you cut it up, it'll be equivalent to about a 1/3 cup of dates altogether. Excuse me, altogether about a 1/3 cup.
Are you cutting them? How big are you cutting them, Lisa?
Oh yeah, so I'm cutting first in half, and then I cut the halves in half, and then I cut it crosswise into small, like
Okay. Okay.
like this size. You can see it in my hand.
Let's see. Oh, okay, a little bit smaller. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
small.
We
They
have
are-
Becca. We have Becca cutting them right now. Mhm.
Okay. Good question.
Are you adding the other ingredients, or you're just working on the dates right now?
I'm just working on the dates.
Okay.
I'm still pitting this one.
Now, there were several type of dates out there when I was shopping for them. So why did you pick the medjola? How did you say it?
Medjool dates. You know, when I went to the store and I was looking for dates, that's what they had. I wish I could tell you a better answer, but that's what they had. And I've had dates before, so I went with what I knew. So yes, that's why I chose it.
Okay, that's good to know.
They're good to snack on. You know, if you like, I mean, if you make granola, dates are really good to add when you're baking granola. I have that in my cookbook, homemade granola, and dates are just one of those naturally sweet. I think they're a little bit sweeter than raisins, but they just add a really good flavor to everything, to granola, even with yogurt. They're so good. And I love to make my yogurt with Greek yogurt, and rather than buying the ones with fruit on the bottom, but those tend to be very sweet. I like to put my own fruits. I even make my own jam. So I love to make homemade jam. And I love to make my own granola. And it's just fun. When you make it, you can taste it as you go and think, you know, you can make it however you like to have it. And that's what's fun about it. And you're usually left with a whole lot of food to share. And that's what about making your own food and even growing your own food. I'm sure when you harvested your spinach, did you give some away, Philippa, or did you have to feed any of it?
Oh yes, we have so many tomatoes coming out. I'm giving it to our neighbors. I bring it to work, and the same with the peppers. I have bell peppers that I have a whole bunch of. So yeah, there's a lot of that I tend to share with people, or I'll bring it to work.
Yes. So if you're able to, and I don't know about the college students, if you're living in the dorm, you can't really grow things yourself, but you can certainly go out to the farmers markets and go out to get these vegetables and just cook in bulk. All right, so I put my dates in, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add our pumpkin seeds. I have a 1/3 cup of roasted pumpkin seeds. And because I'm native Navajo, I had to do pine nuts. You could do either or, but I love both. I'm going to put them both in.
Okay.
And in Rama, New Mexico, where my mother is from, piñon picking is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep.
Pinions?
Pinions, yep. Bryce just now realized the pine nuts are also pinions.
Oh, yes, Bryce. Yes. Pine nuts. They're in their most natural form now. The way we do it at home is we'll gather the pinions and we roast them with salt and a little bit of water. Like just crack the shell, eat the nut inside. Now these are already deshelled.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then let's add our 3 tablespoons of olive oil.
I think we just, we'll have to put that in. Mhm. There's the table.
This is extra virgin olive oil that I'm using. Just kind of helps bind everything together. And I'm gonna add a pinch of salt. This is kosher salt. And just give it a good top.
Getting some new recipes, Bryce,
Like
on a cooking show.
Bobby Flay.
Obviously, that's what he said.
Yeah, Bryce does a lot of cooking on his own. Then she said add the salt and pepper right there too. Yeah,
Okay.
Bryce does a lot of cooking too.
All right, I love that, Bryce. I didn't do a whole lot of cooking in the dorm because there was a lot of restrictions with hot plates but you can have a microwave. I think one year I probably snuck in an oven toaster and I made lasagna. I have my stories, but yeah, if you have access to a kitchen or using like a hot plate, you can make this really easily. And I'm gonna grab my fresh lemon. I don't know if you bought lemon juice or if you're using a fresh lemon filica, but I'm just cutting mine open so that I could get a couple of tablespoons from this.
Okay.
Are we on time here? Oh, okay.
Is it?
And I'm using a handheld.
Like the cooking show on the Today Show with Good Morning America.
It's actually.
What is it?
And how much lemon do you put in again?
The lemon juice, 2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons of lemon.
Yeah.
There's this one right here. I can just mix it up.
And about half a lemon should do it if you're using a fresh lemon. That's the quinoa. And like I said, you can taste it, see if it needs more salt, or you can hit it with some pepper. We're just gonna move right along and jump into that's our roast vegetables. So let me check on that, how it's doing.
I'm trying. We're looking for something to start. But
All right. Vegetables are looking good. I'm just gonna give it a good toss and put it in for another 5 minutes.
Okay, give it a good toss and put it in for another 5 minutes.
Smells really good, right? How's it smell over there? Kind of smelling like the holidays.
We have some on the very end.
All right. That's running for 5 more minutes. All right.
Because we put more in the.
Just let me know when you're ready and we can start our salad dressing.
You want to go on? What were the spices in it?
I'm getting hungry. I don't know about you. I'm excited for this bowl. Oh my goodness. It smells so good, you guys. You could smell it. It really does smell like the holidays in here.
Yeah, it smells good.
It does. I'm ready for turkey.
I'm ready to eat all of it.
Turkey. Any greens?
The green.
As I said before, I'm using a spring mix. So this is a combination of, actually this might be power mix. This is spinach and arugula. I'm getting out my sage because we're gonna get ready to make that tea. All right, are we ready to make our dressing?
Yes.
All right. So bowl, that's great. I like to use mason jars. As I said, I make jam, so I have these all over. Makes a great mixer. So I'm gonna put it together in a mason jar. And all we need is a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Pour it right in. And the ratio for vinaigrettes is usually 3:1. So a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with 3 tablespoons of olive oil.
Are you putting this directly into the mason jar?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Great. Then after the oil, we're going to add some Dijon mustard. We're going to put a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Right in there. And I'm not going to stir it up till the end. I'll shake it up. And then a teaspoon of honey. And of this dressing, it's completely up to you. I'm just going to put the honey in, 1 teaspoon.
Honey.
Yeah.
Right. We also have ginger. I think this would really adds another dimension and earthiness to this dressing is the ginger. So, and I also like to use ginger when I make jam. So it adds a really nice earthiness to it. And we're gonna put in a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, brown ginger.
Lisa, could you use fresh ginger, just out of curiosity?
You could even use garlic in this. Just chop it up real small, like mince it up, and you could just toss it in there. And I would let it sit in the refrigerator for like an hour or 2 just to kind of get the flavors going together. But I like powdered ginger.
Mm-hmm.
And then I add just a salt in there as well. And if you want pepper, put it all in there. Top it with my lid and just shake it up. And it becomes this kind of like a creamy looking dressing. And this will keep in your fridge just like this for like up to 2 weeks. You could even freeze this if you wanted to. So this dressing would be good to make your own dressings. 3:1 ratio oil, 1 tablespoon of apple vinegar. And then you could play with it. Put herbs in there, put garlic in there. There's all kinds of ways that you can make your own dressing. I even made it with, instead of honey, I made it with maple syrup and I put cinnamon in it and it was so good. So there's just some fun ways that you can play with that. Did you get it all mixed up okay? I see your whisking skills over there. All right, so I heard my timer go off for the vegetables, my roast veggies. I'm gonna get those out and get them into a bowl. And we'll be plating here real soon. Oh, so lovely. So lovely. Oh,
Yes, okay, that's.
notice you'll see a nice char on these. I'm gonna pull it close. You get a char on those florets, also on the carrots. Super pretty. I like to do this with Brussels sprouts as well, and those have a really pretty char with them. You can saute them with bacon.
Okay, there's 4 hour.
So from here, if you wanted to portion these out, you could portion, a cup of vegetables for your bowl, and then the rest you can let cool, you can freeze it, or you can process it in the food processor. And like I said, you can make them into mashed potatoes, add them to your potatoes. But this is just a beautiful dish of roasted vegetables. And the flavor is really good. Really, really good. All righty. So I think we're ready to, I'm gonna put on my water. We have to move a little quick here with the sage tea, and then we'll plate while our water is boiling for our tea. Is that okay?
Yes, we have our water boiling for our tea.
We're making sage tea this evening, and sage is one of those natural healing herbs. It's used, it can be used in a variety of ways. Of course, for Native Americans, there's that healing element. Sage is really good for your digestion. It smells so good. I have several sprigs here, and you can use a couple or one sprig for just 16 ounces, but I love the taste so much, I'm gonna put a couple of 2 sprigs, but I'm going to take off the leaves and put it in the water. So as my water gets hot, I'm gonna just let it boil, and then I'll pop in my sage. We'll pop in our cranberries. We got fresh cranberries going in with it, as well as fresh cinnamon sticks. So,
Did you chop your sage leaves?
Yeah, how did you prepare your sage before putting it in?
I'm sorry?
Did you chop your sage leaves at all, or just put the whole leaf in there?
You don't have to, but if you want to, that's fine, because we're gonna end up straining it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it is easier just, but I like to take the leaves off. You can cut them. Actually, cutting them releases those essential oils in it. It releases the essence in there. I love it. So I'd say go ahead and cut it up if you want to, tear it up however you want.
Just take them off. Yeah.
Good question. You could do this with mint as well. I'm
Yeah, one or two, but then I think.
So like you suggested, and I'm gonna go ahead and chop up my leaves, my sage leaves.
Are you still putting in your sage, or do we also put in the cinnamon at the same time?
Yeah, you would just put it all in at the same time. Yeah. While the water gets hot, you could go ahead and put it in there now. Put your sage in your water.
Whole fresh.
Smells so good. How would you describe that? How would you describe the smell of the sage?
The sage smells wonderful.
It kind of has a familiar smell, right?
Mhm.
Very earthy, beautiful. And Navajo tea is kind of like a dandelion, almost like a dandelion flower, and that really makes dark tea. It's dark tasting, but it's very good.
A little more water.
Almost like Earl Grey. This is like an herbal tea, so it's going to be fairly light. Of course, the longer you let it sit and steep, you're really going to get the flavors of the sage. So I'm going to put in my sage. I took about 2 sprigs worth, cut up the leaves, And then I'm gonna add a half a cup of fresh cranberries. So these are gonna be more available out in the grocery stores. You can use other berries that are local in your area. You know, these are beautiful. And they're gonna give you a lot of color. So I would just pop those in. I'm gonna put in 1 cinnamon stick and let all of that come together and boil. All right, so while that's going, I'm going to clear some of my area here and get ready to plate.
Oh, yes, I have plates here. Are we ready to start dishing out?
That's what she said.
Oh, goodness, okay, here we go. So we need to get, you got one for the chicken. Plate, there you go.
Oh,
Do we start dishing out the chicken and then we put the quinoa, do we put it all together?
we're gonna, yeah, we'll do that step together.
Okay.
I'm gonna just give my countertop a good wipe here. And we'll plate together. Right. Thank you. I have my husband over here. You can't see, he's behind the scenes, but honey, if you want to give a little wave and just just want to say thank you to him, first of all, getting everything set up. You know, we're starting to do more food demonstrations, and we're a team. We started this journey of writing this cookbook during the pandemic. You know, all of us, we were just having to stay home, and I love to cook. And I thought, you know, why not start writing down my recipes, and started with that. And then I just had this passion in my heart that I felt like I need to share, you know, some of the things that I've learned growing up, and lessons from my parents, from my elders, and stories and family recipes, because there's so much more to food than we give it credit for, especially with Native American families. You know, we have food brings us together. It's the lore, and you know, it does so much more than just satisfy our tummies. It satisfies our soul, our spirit. So that's why I called it Living Full Cookbook. I call it Living Full Company, because it's satisfying to be with your family. It's satisfying to connect with one another, sharing stories, sharing recipes, sharing wisdom, and of course, good food. So just wanted to share that bit with you all. Your water should actually start to boil. Mine is starting to boil. How's yours? Starting to simmer, kind of low.
It's a simmer.
The simmer. Okay, let's let it go some more. Let's get our greens. This is about a cup of mixed greens. And like I said, use what is in season. Use what you like. Some greens are more bitter than others, like mustard greens, kale versus spinach. But I have a mixture of spring mix. So I'm just gonna put that in my plate just like this. And if you're prepping for the week, get your Tupperware, just start your assembly line, get your greens. You can buy those big ones, or you can grow them. If you're growing, you're harvesting, you have a lot of greens. Just put them in your plate like so. And then you're gonna get your quinoa. This is a big bowl. And you just spoon some of that quinoa right near the middle, near the center. Get all those good dates in there, pine nuts, pumpkin seeds. Spread it out. All right, our tea is taken off, which is great. I need this strainer, hun. And then we also have our vegetables. So depending on how you want to make this, what I would do is just get my cauliflower. Can you see here? Let's move this. I would just get my cauliflower here and lay it like a ring, get a ring. So we're gonna lay the chicken right in the middle. I like to play with my food, but it's really however you want to put your cauliflower. I like to use a lot of color. Great rule of thumb when I'm cooking, because that just means, you know, color comes from vegetables, comes from fruit. So whenever you're having to get something from your pantry or your refrigerator in a jar it's likely to have some kind of preservative in it, and that's okay. But you know, in our family, we just try to use those things sparingly. We try to use, you know, low carb, low sugar ingredients, and
Thank you, Chef.
like I said, natural sweeteners are great, honey, maple syrup. So this is what I have here. I have my cauliflower and carrot.
Okay, here you go. You guys start. Still in it. There you go, Joe.
Grabbing my chicken now. And I'm going to just pop my chicken right in the middle. And you know, if we had time, we could roast chickpeas, we could roast beans instead of quinoa. You could do it with wild rice. But this process, you can put as much chicken as you want. And that's how much I have left over. I have quite a bit.
Yep.
How you doing? Doing good?
Yeah, we're good.
Great. I'm just gonna give my salad dressing one good shake, shake, shake. Smells, oh, that tea smells good, you guys. Whew.
Well, of course, we have our masks on, so we can't really see it that well.
I'm excited because this means I don't have to cook dinner. It's already done. All right, so here I go. I'm getting my dressing, and you can spoon it on or drizzle it on, but just kind of give it a nice lateral motion here. Just drizzle it all over. And that is our power quinoa bowl. So I'll put it close so you can see how beautiful it is. Has a nice weight to it. Again, this is something that is full of protein, full of nutrients. You have the quinoa, your essential amino acids, You have your vitamin K, calcium, beta carotene. You have your greens. I mean, all of this is just going to be nothing but good for you. So, you know, as Native Americans, as Indigenous people, it's very important to take care of ourselves, take care of our bodies, take care of our mind. And that's something our elders teach. That's something that I was raised with. And so eating good food, living well, being well, eating well is all a part of, you know, having a good full life. So, oh, and now let's get this sage off the heat. And I'm gonna show you how pretty this color is. It's really beautiful. It's gorgeous. Oh, can you do a quick rinse? Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna strain this.
Oh, yeah.
If you're watching and you know, you have a question, feel free to pop that in the comment section. Maybe someone who's able to see it can read it, and I can help answer any questions. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Any questions about ingredients, the process of making the bowl?
There's two strangers in.
I'll do it here. All right, so I'm just gonna pour my tea here. Strain it. Smells so good.
Yeah.
Now you have a couple of options here. I like to fish out my cranberries, mash them up and put them back in, but you don't have to do that. You can, that's up to you. It just adds a little bit more of the, I guess you get more fiber from the skin, but you don't have to.
Okay.
I won't do that this time. And then my cup of ice, I'm just gonna pour it over some ice.
Oh, pour it over some ice.
You can have it hot. So at this point is where you would have it hot. Ladle, you could ladle it. I might maybe this is pouring skills. Nope, that didn't work. My husband said, you should ladle that. And I said, no, I think it'll work.
Okay, there you go. Have some. You should have this in here.
Like punch.
Doesn't it look like punch?
It does look like punch, yes.
But it's so beautiful. And so something like this, you know, you could pop in some of those cooked cranberries if you wanted to, just to garnish it. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull a couple of them here and put it in like that.
There's we bought some honey and some agave to flavor it too.
Yep, you can put that in there before you pour, or you could do it after. I like to use monk fruit. I love stevia. Those are all naturally derived sweeteners as well. Honey's really good. Actually, let me put some of that in there. Drizzle it in there. And I'll get a straw and just stir it. So doesn't this look like a nice afternoon lunch? Like, could you just see yourself sitting outside somewhere, maybe at a park bench, or, you know, somewhere outside the student union, just hanging out with your own food? People are like, where did you make, how did you do that? I say, well, I made it. So this is it. This is our sage tea, cranberry sage tea with our chicken power protein bowl. I'm gonna take a sip of this.
Okay, while you're taking a sip, I'm gonna turn it this way. Okay, what do you all think? Thumbs up, good?
It's
Okay.
really good.
The tea's really good. We got and people are eating and smiling, so that's a good sign.
That's a good. Great.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. This has been a wonderful. Are you gonna be able to share the recipe, or what are we gonna do with the recipe?
Yes, so I was just saying that I was telling Ms. Deb that I can send you the recipe via PDF document to share with your students and those who inquire at the center. And I also wanted to show you all my cookbook here. I have it available in coil bound and in hardcover, and these are at livingfullcookbook.com. And we're going to have an ebook coming out really soon, and we want to offer your students, the Purdue students, a student discount. So we will send those details to you after the presentation. And so make sure, if you are interested in the cookbook, contact Ms. Filica and we will get you your discount.
Well, actually, if you want to just email us, Deb, just put a message in the chat. Just email us at naecc@purdue.edu, and we will share the PDF, and we'll also provide you with the information about Lisa's cookbook. But yeah, I think this is a wonderful meal to make. We've had some. Thank you to all the helpers here, Josie and Sarah, Becca, and Bryce, for coming together and helping. And this is a good meal to make. So I really do appreciate you taking the time and joining us today. We have already arranged for Lisa to join us coming back again in November. We're going to have another cooking demonstration. We're going to be focusing on a fall meal, and I think it was a holiday meal, correct? Holiday dish?
Yes. We will have some fun with that. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm not sure if we have any messages or anything in the chat. So Deb, if there's any messages or comments in the chat, just let us know. If not, we're getting thumbs up here with all the foods here. So I'll have Deb chime in to see if she has any comments to make.
I've been answering their questions along the way, so I don't have any right now.
Okay. So unfortunately, you get to watch us eat here. But so
I know I should try it as well. I've made it before, but it's always so good to me. I just like to get the cauliflower and the chicken and the greens. I'm sorry y'all can't try this, but it is good. I really appreciate it. It means so much to be able to share what I love to do, to share it on this platform, Filica. I'm so honored, like I said, to be with you, to share more of my story, and just these life skills, you know, and you learn these when we connect. You learn it from other people when we gather. So again, it's an honor. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. We're going to go ahead and close out the program. I would just like to again, thank everybody, and I'll just have Deb go ahead and just hit the stop record button.